Welcome as everyone comes in. I think they were saying as a suggestion, if people could write in the chat where they're joining from, and we can get an idea just where everybody's meeting from. Oh, downtown Toronto. Kitchener, Hamilton. All right, I'm joining everyone from Barrie. Fort Francis, Northwestern, nice. Oh, St. John's, Newfoundland, amazing. I was just there for a visit. Rexdale. Give a few minutes as everyone comes in. If you want to keep sharing where you're joining from, that's fantastic. Hopefully everyone had an opportunity to listen to the keynote this morning. Very wonderful presentation. Oh, awesome. We have a comment. Everyone in a real treat for hearing from Sheena about the Prosper program. Do we want to give till about 5 after for people to come in? Good morning. If you haven't had a chance yet, if you want to let us know where you're joining from in the chat. It's nice to see everyone rolling in here. Orangeville, nice. Welcome, welcome. Oshawa. One of your neighbors just won the 25 million. The Blue Jays 50-50. Peterborough. Okay, I think, are we good to get going and we'll let people in as they arrive? Awesome, Scarborough. Oh, Perry Sound, nice. Okay, so welcome to concurrent session A2, Prosper, a Throughcare approach to reintegration for adults facing firearms-related charges. My name is Sophie and I'm joined by my colleague Marnie, and we will be your facilitators for this session. Before we get started, I just want to review some quick housekeeping notes, and then we will introduce our speaker for the session. I would like to draw your attention to the bottom of your screen where you will find the Zoom toolbar. Please use the Q&A feature to submit questions throughout the presentation. We will review the questions at the end of the session and do our best to answer as many as possible. Please ensure that your microphone is turned off until the Q&A portion of the session, unless Sheena or our presenter has asked you to do otherwise, then we can participate a little more. We will be recording this session to upload to the conference website for future viewing by those who have registered, and you will be able to access them on the platform for 90 days following the conference. I would like to remind everyone that we have closed captioning for all of our sessions. You can click on the CC icon below the video window on your screen to access the function. We kindly ask that you complete the evaluation for this session by clicking on the session in the agenda on the virtual platform, and there will be a survey button at the bottom next to the Join button. Your feedback is appreciated and will be used to inform future programming and conferences. We like to respectfully ask that all of those attending today's session to engage with each other thoughtfully and always consider the impact of your words and interactions on each other. As facilitators, we will not tolerate any abusive or inappropriate behavior or hate speech and will ensure that anyone who engages in such behavior is removed from this session. If you've been disturbed or affected by such an event, please do what you need to do. Take a break, step outside, practice deep breathing, or reach out to someone you trust. If you're in crisis and require immediate support, please click on the FAQ icon on the conference homepage to access contact information for Connects Ontario. And if you'd like to report an incident, you can contact the event manager, Sherry, by either clicking on the assistance button or by clicking on the assistant button in the top right of the menu bar. So thank you for going through some housekeeping with me. I would like to now introduce our presenter for this session. This is Sheena Blake Brown, Director of Prosper with Amadeus.
Good morning, everyone. Um, I I don't know if this is crazy for you folks, but if a few of you wouldn't mind putting on your cameras so I can see some faces, it makes things a little bit more personal, if it's possible. Oh, thanks, Samantha. And in my hometown too. You're in Orangeville, right? Thanks, Gianna. Yeah? No, I didn't say it right. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sheena Blake Brown. I am with Amadeus, and I am the director of Prosper. But before we get started on everything that I want to share today, I want to actually come up with a few, I've got a few questions to ask you folks, and I'm going to get you to just sort of sit and think about the answers. You can, of course, like put your hand up or take off your mute to comment on things. Feel free. Like, I really would love to have a conversation about this. So I'm going to describe a few everyday moments from our work. As you notice, as you listen, I just want you to notice what story your mind is telling you and what instant assumptions come up with these brief thoughts. The first one is a young man walks into your office with a firearm charge and no bail. All I'm asking is that you think, like, what is the first thought that comes to your head? It doesn't have to mean anything, just go with your first thought. The next one is a client says he wants to return to his old neighborhood where he feels most like himself. You two with your cameras on, it's so fun because I get to see your expressions, but I can't see anyone else's. Okay. Um, a woman says her boyfriend keeps her safe, but your notes list him as her co-accused. And here's the last one. A caseworker reports that a client is not motivated. And so now that we've had a second to sort of hear those things, these are things that happen with us every day. Someone comes into our office and we have sort of a thought, oh, Michael, thanks, Michael, appreciate it. Someone walks into our office and we have to face what's in front of us. But what I'm asking you to do right now is notice what came up. And there's no judgment here. How much of what we know about clients comes from the data, and how much of what we know comes from our sense of who deserves safety, who deserves support, and who deserves success? When we pull these pieces apart, we end up finding out a little bit more. And when we stop using the data that segregates by neighborhood or race, we often see what's labeled as risk is actually someone that's labeled as having a lack of opportunity. So the presentation that I'm going to go through soon is going to help us reframe and see potential instead of pathology. I just have one more that I want you folks to sort of sit with today. Um, I'm going to show you a couple statements that are both true, and I want you to notice which one feels more urgent and more concerning. Hi, Aisha. Thanks for putting your camera on. 60% of clients with firearm-related charges reoffend, or 40% of clients with firearm-related charges never reoffend. Which one felt heavier for you? It's okay, you don't have to answer. I get that. Um, and why? It's funny because for us, sometimes, when I don't know how many of you folks are frontline workers or are working behind the scenes, but the stories, they come heavy. And so we have to make a decision around how we're going to deal with data versus how we're going to deal with the people that we're supporting. Here's another statement. 70% of clients missed at least one 70% of clients missed at least one appointment in their first month of supervision. Or 30% of clients kept every single appointment in their first month of supervision. Here's our last one. Which one feels more urgent? Which one feels more concerning? 25% of participants returned to custody within a year of release, or 75% of participants remained in community and did not return to custody. Now, you don't have to respond, but it is important to note that sometimes we're given numbers and we can respond and react in different ways. So this is why I just wanted to open up with this sort of, my sister calls them thought drops, where we have to like really take a second and engage with our own thoughts. And this is what our team does uh, daily before we start our work, whether we're going inside the jails or we're working in community. What are the thought drops that we're having? What statistics are impacting the ways that we see the people that we're supporting? The assumption audit, which is what we call it, helps us to notice small and almost automatic stories that we tell ourselves about people. Who's ready, who's risky, who's motivated. But bias doesn't end there. It also shapes how we talk about the outcomes, how we interpret the data, and how systems define our success or failure. So now we're going to shift from personal to systemic. We're going to look at the research and gather some more of the pieces of what the data tells us, but from a more human lens, from Amadeus. And you're probably like, wait, where are you from? But I'm about to share all of that. Can you folks see the screen? Yeah. Okay. So again, I'm Sheena Blake Brown. I'm from Amadeusz. So our mission statement at Amadeusz is that Amadeusz supports young people who are incarcerated to create positive change in their lives through access to education, community programs and supports, and mentorship and exceptional care. Our vision is creating a future with equitable access to education and community support. We spend a lot of time on policy change. So we advocate for policy change in systemic reform by conducting research and raising awareness about issues faced by individuals who are incarcerated. And that can be anywhere from folks sitting in remand custody, having access to no programming, to what happens to a person when they leave incarceration. How does the jail impact the way that they see the rest of their lives? Our research engages in projects that are relevant to the work that we do, and you can feel free to go and check out that research at any time. In 2016, we had the Look at My Life Sparks for firearm prevention among young people in Toronto. And Sparks really just means like, what made someone go and have a gun? What was that? This research was really interesting because we were able to interview several young people and ask them like, what got you here? We're used to in our society just seeing someone at face value. He's bad, he has a gun, everything's wrong, and he should go to jail forever. And though I can appreciate how someone can be victimized by this, but what we wanted to know was, why are you carrying guns in the first place? And so from this research, we ended up finding out quite a few pieces of like risks and protective factors that came up with young people in Toronto. Some of them were that, well, actually, everyone was experiencing trauma. Everyone's family environment was really rough. There was a lack of relationships with non-family members or mentors. They had negativity amongst their peers, and they almost always had negative school experiences, which led to some more barriers around uh, poverty or people living in poverty and having a lack of community safety, people experiencing racism, people accessing or not being able to access employment because they either have a criminal record or racism, or there's a ton of other factors there. And then folks returning to the same environment after they leave incarceration. So when we did this research, we were able to come up with some recommendations. And so our third recommendation, which is what we're sharing today, is around Prosper. So I'm going to get into this. Um, our recommendation was that we implement a case management approach for individuals who are incarcerated, drawing insights from other regions, sorry, such as Australia's extended Throughcare project. Some stuff in the way here, sorry. This aligns with TIE's Action 20A, which advocates for the city to, I'm not going to read this, you guys can read that, but essentially what we wanted to do is align with some other initiatives that the city had up and running. And um, we had gone through, there's a lot of areas in the world that do justice really well. They support folks in like reintegrating really well. Canada isn't one of those. And so we really wanted to be a part of the movement that supports people in like not wanting to reoffend. And lowering our recidivism rate is a big deal to us. So let's move on. So here's the response. Amadeusz, in partnership with Humber College and the City of Toronto, introduced Prosper, a Throughcare approach utilizing intensive case management. Throughcare is a philosophy and a practice of corrective services of New South Wales, Australia, where people are managed, we're going to talk about this in a second, from the start of their sentence with a view to maximize reintegration into community and achieving reduction in recidivism. This is Australian law reform. So the term managed, we recognize this is where we got this from, but we actually don't find ourselves managing people. We support people, and I think that the language differentiation is really important. At Prosper, we work directly with people that are 18 to 29 that have firearm-related charges to develop and execute a personalized plan of support based on their personal needs and goals. So the caseworkers that we have, they work together with the young people while they're inside, and they start to coordinate existing systems to address systemic barriers. So this is like a whole bunch of words to really talk about, okay, I'm meeting with you, I'm sitting here with you inside of a jail. How are you today? What's going on with you? And what are some of the things that are going to be impacting you when you get out? And some of the pieces that we found now is that we've really developed such strong relationships with our guys that initially when you meet someone, they're not going to be like, yeah, and guess what? When I get out, I don't have a license and I don't have this and I don't have that. So it takes some time to really figure out what are the pieces that someone needs support with in coordinating existing systems. For instance, housing, finding work, getting your license back, getting IDs. Maybe you have some stuff with immigration. Maybe you need some support with your lawyer. Maybe you need some support with getting your kids back. There are a ton of things that can come up for someone when they've been incarcerated. So, effective reintegration of adults facing firearm-related charges in Ontario. We did a study couple of years ago now. We really wanted to see how effective it was to have Prosper inside the jails and working with people outside the jails. So the study evaluated the impact of Prosper, which supports individuals with gun charges from 18 to 29. There was a total of 58 participants that we looked at from 2018 to 2023, 35 active during the time of the research project. We'll move on from there. Our methodology was to employ a qualitative approach, leveraging in-depth interviews with various stakeholders between 2022 and April 2023. And we have all of the ethics approval over the 4 year period. So our research participants, there was 44 people that participated in the interviews about their experience in the role of Prosper. Um, and so 29 of them were active program participants. 4 of them were community partners. 8 of them were family members of participants in the program, and 3 were caseworkers. And before I continue, I just wanted to look at intensive case management is a little bit more in depth. And by a little bit, I mean a lot of it, more in depth than regular case management, whereby what we're used to with case management is knowing that someone has XYZ to take care of and we go and take care of that. Um, Often in case management, the person that we're supporting isn't in the driver's seat. With intensive case management, we're really serious about making sure that our guys are in the driver's seat, and we're really there to support what they want to see next. That doesn't mean that we're not supportive caring adults that are going to be like, hey bro, do we need to look at something else? Do we need to look at the drinking that has been happening? But because we spend such quality time with the folks that we support, we find that the relationship is built so strong that it gives an opportunity for them to share with us what's happening. And then it gives us an opportunity to be able to work in conjunction with them to eliminate some barriers to the next step of life. So here are some of the key findings that we found with Prosper, the benefits of intensive case management and tailored supports. Intensive case management stands out as a critical tool in supporting individuals with firearm charges, offering personalized care plans tailored to each person's complex needs and varying circumstances. These are words, but I can tell you that our caseworkers are so serious about being loving human beings. And being a loving human being in a jail is quite a complicated approach. But what we found is that we see that being a bright light is important. Being a kind, bright light with a smiling face is really important, especially in dark spaces like this. And that is part of our tailored approach. Here are just some of the things that our guys say. Significant in helping me stay grounded during successful times. Sorry, I wanted to mention that the reason we share this is because this work obviously wouldn't exist without the guys that we support. And so we really wanted to make sure that their voices were heard in any presentation that we share about the work that we get to do together. In the negative environment of being in jail, Prosper staff are like a bright light. Oh, I forgot about that one. It's true, we really work on that. He's tried, this is from a participant's mom. He's tried to commit suicide twice, and there was not enough help out there for him. The system failed him in supporting his needs. We do our best to be as close with family as our guys want us to. And so when we hear from parents that like the system has failed them in so many ways, they're feeling so alone, we find our role really niche here in terms of making sure that we can find more support. For instance, it took about 6 years, but we finally found um, a culturally relevant psychotherapy that we offered to all of our guys. We've got the funding for it, and it's been really beautiful. In fact, we thought that no one would want to do it because, you know, you're in jail. How often do you really want to see a therapist? Most people, we really assumed that they would all say no, but in fact, almost everyone has said yes, and we're almost out of money. They're coming up with new strategies. And so now we also have other in-kind donations from other psychotherapists to be able to support the families of these folks. And so what we're really working on is a large scale of support all around so that everyone can feel well. Here's one more. I mean, it's important because when you're in jail, you're surrounded by your thoughts 24/7, you know. It's not like you can't talk to other people because they're going through the same stuff, their stuff, as well as mental health. So the caseworkers show up for you. They visit you or answer your phone calls and help by just talking it out and support you with coming up with positive ways to deal with your problems. Here's another finding: barriers and challenges transitioning into community. What we found is that the barriers include limited access to education, lack of stable housing options due to housing crisis in Toronto, and a lack of employment opportunities due to discrimination or stigma associated with having a criminal record. I don't know how many of you folks are used to this, but I think anyone in Toronto was going to know that the housing crisis in Toronto is it's significant, and we find it overwhelming at times when our guys are getting out. How are you going to find somewhere to live? So our team is on the ground. We make friends with as many landlords as we possibly can. We have all types of systems we do our best to help someone find somewhere to live if he wants that. But as the finding also notes, so what if you can find somewhere to live if you can't afford to pay for it? And you can't get a job because someone already sees that you have a criminal record. So we are recognizing what the stigma can do to somebody. You've already served your time, you're out of prison or jail, and now here you are in community, you're trying to find somewhere to live, but you don't have any money because no one will give you a job. It's a little bit complicated. Just a few more pieces. I'll just read a couple of them. The caseworkers are actually trying to understand the situation and actually try to find the best way to solve it, even a lot of the times better than I would have taken it. And they're really supportive with lots of knowledge and related to mental health and education supports. Here's one from a partner. And I wanted to note that often our partners, the wives, girlfriends uh, of our guys, they end up being such a part of our world because we realize that the whole family structure is so important to support. This is intensive case management. One of the things that is critically important is the coordination of service providers and supports, as they often work in isolation. They're not joined and they're not working in partnership. I wanted to pause here because this is something that we've noted when Prosper first began in 2018. We realized that people were working in these silos. So there was housing workers here, and there was OW here, and there was ODSP here. But we are now seeing that these silos are actually coming together and starting to converge, and people are finding ways to be able to support everyone with this very Throughcare model that is beyond Prosper, but we're really grateful to be a part of it and work in conjunction with others who are serious about making sure that a person that's leaving incarceration has the support that he needs or she needs. Here's our third finding: program evaluation for data-driven systemic reform. The importance of program evaluation and research emerged as another theme to facilitate data-driven systemic reform, advancing equitable outcomes for people impacted by incarceration and having firearm-related charges. So we did this research on purpose because we really wanted to see what was happening with Prosper. And I'm hoping you folks have questions afterwards. When you're used to doing something every day, it's kind of hard to explain what it looks like to someone who's never seen it before. But what we're finding now is that if we're able to evaluate a program effectively, we can make the changes that are necessary. And evaluating a program can only really, really come from the stakeholders of the people involved in the program. And so that was a really large theme that emerged from our research. One of our program partners said, it's important to do research on programs like this to see if they're actually effective in helping people. It's important to know what works and what doesn't so that we can help more people by ensuring the program receives funding and resources that they need. One of our participants noted, it's important to always be evaluating the program and looking for ways to improve it. There's always room for improvement, and I think it's important to be open to feedback and suggestions from participants. Now, this is perfect because yesterday I got a phone call from one of my guys who'd said, Sheen, when I was first getting out, you guys were amazing in this emergency situation. He had been released from court and had no ID and nowhere to stay. And so we had some money to be able to help him stay in a hotel so he wasn't on the street. It was really, really cold that day. But no hotel would take him because he had no ID. We were able to call in some favors. Long story short, he was able to stay for about 2 weeks in this hotel. We were really grateful. Now he's been out for about 2 years. He has his driver's license. He has somewhere to live. He has a girlfriend. He has a dog. He has a truck. He has all the stuff. But he called yesterday to say, well, what I need now is something beyond emergency. What I need now is stability. And so that it's these pieces that really keep us going in terms of like, okay, what can we do now as service providers to support our guys in stabilizing their lives? We have built enough of a relationship so that if someone calls us, um, we get calls from trap houses, we get calls from the craziest places you can ever imagine because we've built such a strong relationship, but someone is calling in an emergency situation and we're great at managing that. Now we need to figure out how to stabilize life once we are 1, 2, 3 years outside of jail. So here are the recommendations. We need to strengthen access to case management and provide funding and resources for program stability. And that looks so interesting because people in my line of work will say funding. And so that gets like, well, where does the funding go? It's important to pay caseworkers effectively. I've been doing this a really long time, and I can say that there was some time that it was like, oh, and it still exists now, but Amadeus is pretty serious about making sure that people are paid reasonably well. Um, but you will have people supporting folks and the folks that they're supporting make more money than they do. This ends up becoming really problematic because here you are giving out I don't know, a taxi chit or Uber Eats, and you don't have food in your house. So the funding is not only for caseworkers, well, it's largely in part for caseworkers, but it's also largely in part for making sure those pieces of stabilization come. So when someone first gets out, does he have access to somewhere to stay? What happens if he gets an apartment, but he needs first and last, and he can't access OW right away? We need to have money to be able to do these pieces because once someone I'll give you a story. We had one guy get out, and we were able to get him a place to stay, and he was quite stabilized. But then his OW fell through, and he started getting really upset. And from there, we lost him. And that was really interesting to us. Like we realized that we didn't have enough to be able to sustain him, and we recognize that we cannot pay for someone's life forever. That is not our goal. We want to make sure that someone is set up enough so that they are stable. And then our work is to figure out how to support them in supporting themselves to be stable ongoing. The next recommendation is to mitigate systemic barriers in accessing housing, education, and employment opportunities. I was in a meeting the other day and trying to find ways for my guys to get access to different education/employment opportunities, and the folks were really scared. They didn't want to work with my guys. They thought, "Oh, should we make an announcement before they come in that these are like justice folks?" And I think as soon as they said it, they realized that's not cool. And I had said, like, what makes you folks allow certain people to get access to opportunity, but not others? And so a lot of our work is trying to mitigate these barriers, but these are often just like mind barriers. And as soon as they said it, they heard themselves like, oh God, like, did I really say that? And what other thoughts are people having around giving someone a chance? Um, and I've been doing this a long time, so I think sometimes it's complicated to ask someone to give someone a chance if he's done the same thing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times. It's very fair. Um, and with Prosper, we really come from this place of love. And so we instantly forgive immediately, though we understand that not everybody will. But we really do our best to help to break down some of these barriers so that a person has an opportunity to see himself in a loving light instead of thinking that he is always only ever bad, because no one is always only ever bad. In fact, everyone is good in their core. I've been in jails a long time and I've never met a bad person, which is crazy. Lastly, we are hoping that we can find different ways to invest in program evaluation through coordinated data and sharing between institutions, meaning somewhere to get money to be able to continue evaluating how a program is working and then be able to share that information through an appropriate lens between different institutions. So it's one thing for a small organization like Amadeus to say, here's what we've done, but how do we share this while we're here today? Sharing this with folks who don't do this type of work, who are sort of learning different ways. We are recognizing that investing in these opportunities is deeply important. Here are outcomes. From 2018 to 2023, the Prosper program enrolled a total of 58 participants, with 35 still active during the research period. As of May 2024, 25 of these participants had been released from incarceration sometime during the program, and 9 were reincarcerated. This 64% success rate highlights the program's effectiveness, especially when compared to the national average. According to Statistics Canada in 2024, males aged 18 to 34 have a 56% chance of recidivism or reconviction within 3 years. In contrast, Prosper participants showed a lower recidivism rate of 36% within 4 years. I mean, we already went over how numbers can, thanks, Samantha. We already went over how numbers can impact this. And I can say there are times when someone will go back into jail and then they'll call us and be like, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry. I don't know what to do with myself. And you guys were so supportive, but and what we've come to realize is that often people go back inside because it's very comfortable. They spent all of their 20s inside or all of their teen years inside. And so it's become really relatable. And we've recognized that there's a brotherhood that exists inside that we haven't figured out how to um, cultivate outside yet. So that is another thing that Prosper is looking at. Um, on paper, our goal is to reduce recidivism. Yeah. And it's important. It's important for our society. Um, but between you and I, the thing that our team is really focused on is loving someone. I think it's important to say, like, not like inappropriate love. There's not like not like that, but really recognizing him as a whole and healthy being that may need access to something that he's never had access to, like psychotherapy. And I want to big up Sankofa Psychotherapy. They're not here today. They're actually speaking with the parole board today. But they have come in so wonderfully for us because now what our guys have had an opportunity to do is explore more ways to be able to access how to manage their feelings. These are things that are often overlooked. We look at a person on a whole scale and we think, well, he went to jail, he had a gun, he shot somebody, he did something really bad. Okay, but how did he get there? And that is what Prosper is really looking at. How did he get there? And how can he get somewhere else? So, what's the future of Prosper? Based on these findings, Prosper is showing some promise. We have now been getting some investments and some support to do other things like making sure that guys can get access to bank accounts pretty quickly. And if they can show us, it depends on a few different pieces, but maybe they do a speaking engagement and we can help them open a tax-free savings account because money is important and the majority of our guys know about money. They've had lots of it, but how do you earn that money not under the table? How do you manage that money? So we've also we now have partnerships with Service Ontario to like sort of bypass lines. Um, Sometimes what has happened is a guy will come out, he needs to get his license and he gets in the line. I think everyone knows you get to Service Ontario and the lineup's like for 3 years. So he gets there and then he finally gets to the wicket and then the person says, oh, well, you actually have like $1,000 in fines. So after waiting for an hour and a half in the line, he now finds out he has a whole bunch of fines. And if he hasn't had support often he loses it inside of this place. This is something that's happened with us a few times. So what we did was create a partnership with Servers Ontario so that they come join us at our office. So we're able to help pay for those fines before he gets there. Now, I'm really hoping people aren't like, you're just making it easier for them to do more bad stuff. Because we recognize that that's a possibility. But we really do our best to lean on the side of what happens if you support someone to make sure that these barriers are gone. And then maybe he wouldn't need to have to do the things that he was doing. And as you can see from our results, that is what's happening. So we're just trying to make things a little bit lighter, a little bit more gentle, with also another caring adult who genuinely cares about this person and what happens in his life. We're also looking for additional investments to scale this initiative. We're hoping to branch out into other regions. We've been working really diligently on that, and it's been a lot of fun. I can say that as a person who started Prosper, who started with Prosper to now, I know absolutely every guy that we work with. And I think that one of the things that we're seeing is that when you can create, I say this, I'm just mom-splaining at this point, but when you create when you create a strong relationship with a person, they are able to reach out to you. It's the same thing with our children. They're able to reach out to you in a way that maybe there's nowhere else safe to reach out to. And so that is what we're looking at with intensive case management through Prosper. We have some other research that's coming up because we recognize carceral geography is actually impacting people, and we're wondering how. So the question is the impact of incarceration on future firearm possession among young people in Toronto. And we're also currently working on the ways that Prosper as a program does intensive case management. So look forward to that. And here are our references and my contact. Um, that is the end of this presentation. So if there are any questions, I would love to hear from you. Did it stop sharing?
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm a justice supports coordinator at First Light, is an Indigenous organization here in St. John's, Newfoundland. Sorry, I tried to raise my hand on this thing, but I'm not used to Zoom anymore.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, I thought your presentation was really good. It really resonates with me
Beep, beep, beep.
that I do with our guys. Oh, sorry. Here's something.
It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, so I work we do institutional programming. I work with a lot of Indigenous folks who are on parole. And a lot of our guys have firearms charges, but a couple of things that really resonated with me. I don't really have any questions per se. But like I was in jail one time doing a program and I was kind of pretty new at it, and I was saying to the guys, like, sometimes we just don't know what to do or what to say, or like we're trying to bring in these great programs and these great stuff, and a guy just looked at me dead in the eyes. He's like, no, Michael, it's like we just want good company. Sometimes that's all that matters, and the difference that that makes, just going in and treating people like humans, which is so they're not
Thanks for
treated
saying it like
as
that.
human in there most times. But I really felt that that stuck with me, and I continue to, like, sometimes you don't know what to bring in, or you're having a day where you're just like, I don't know what to do. Just being good company, just being a loving person. Obviously, love is one of our sacred teachings that we try to teach. So we're always bringing that in, and it really is just love and forgiveness. I mean, is very important. I stick by that, and yeah. So that was one thing. And also, we created a weekly men's group. So we've been doing a men's group for, I don't know,
Mm.
maybe, definitely over 10 years now. I've been doing it for 6 years. And we've really noticed that that reduces the risk of recidivism in our guys. It creates that fellowship, that brotherhood, that
Yeah.
because it's all justice, Indigenous guys who are engaged or were engaged or in the justice system. So there's a lot of commonality between the participants. And we really find that really helps. We've seen people form bonds, and just sitting, a bunch of men sitting around talking about their emotions. It could be very uncomfortable, but it's very powerful.
Yeah.
Even myself as a facilitator, I need that every week now, and just that connection, and then they're connecting with folks who are not engaged and forming a community within the bigger urban Indigenous community here. So it's
Mhm.
I don't know if that's something that Prosper has ever done or is looking to do, but I found the men's group that we do is really, especially for our parole men, it really helps them. There's some guys who come every week for the last like 4 or 5 years that I've been doing it, so it's really find that very powerful and very helpful.
I wrote it down actually. I really we've not done that because often like I'm coming up with reasons of why we haven't, and it's usually because we don't mix our guys right away. But I really appreciate
Mhm.
what you're up to, and I really appreciate that you use the word love. People often don't say it because it's like we're almost like not allowed or something, but you
Yeah.
can't do this properly without using this word and being this way. So thanks, Michael. I really appreciate the work you're doing.
Oh, thank you, and thank you as well. I really appreciate your presentation. It's really really informative, but really validating as well. And because here in Newfoundland, we don't have a lot of other justice workers, especially so it's really good to hear other. It's validating to hear other folks going through like the same. Because everything you were saying, I was just like, yep, yep, yep. I know that. I've done that. I've been through that. Our guys have gone through that with bank
Yeah.
accounts. Yeah, and that's another thing that we've kind of started to is a crafting table. So we'll get guys inside to do crafts, especially like
Yes.
indigenous crafts, and then we take them and we sell them for them at our events. So we'll sell it, and then their money goes back into the canteen, or they got like, you know,
Brilliant.
some money waiting for them when they get out, because you know what it's like. A lot of our guys have, some of them have nothing when they get out. So then they get out and they at least have a little bit of like cash in their hand right
Something. Yeah.
between like $20 to like some guys make like 500 or 600 bucks. So, and they wouldn't have an opportunity to do that when they're incarcerated. So and our women incarcerated as well, we take their crafts and people on parole and some people with like, firearms charges or sexual assault related charges, they're not allowed in community. So
Mhm.
just taking that and forwarding that love and being like, no, these are still humans. Whatever they did,
They're
it's
still
still,
people. Yeah.
yeah, and then they have this money. We either put it right directly under canteen, which is just so cup filling. It's really good, and it helps the guys. It gives them some empowerment. So that's just another thing. Sorry, I'm blabbing a lot, but just
No,
thought
I'm
I'd.
so grateful to hear that. We've done a couple of pieces like this, but I'm like I'm just wondering if Ontario has very different rules than Newfoundland, but I'm actually really hoping to bring this in. Some of the pieces we've had our guys like join research projects where they can get paid. So we'll be like, they can, they'll call us and we'll connect them so they can get paid. And then we'll put that check like in our files so that when they get out, they can have access to it. But I love this crafting table. I'm writing things down from you, Michael. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments?
Not a question necessarily, but I did really enjoy your presentation this morning. I feel like it was really informative as well. I work in the community justice sector, so I work supporting individuals in a residential facility as well as bail supervision. So I kind of get both sides of it, and I feel like it's interesting working with individuals pre-conviction versus post-conviction because I definitely see the divide between accessibility to resources in the community and
Mhm.
as well as like their ability to find even basic jobs as well. Um, it's insane.
Aaliyah, are you in
Even
Toronto?
I'm in Brampton.
Okay, so and you're with John
Yes.
Howard Society.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes, it's
yeah.
It's insane, honestly, and I feel bad for a lot of the people as well because even being at the halfway house, a lot of the times you'll see different people, especially now, like with the holidays coming up, and I feel like when they're incarcerated as well, they're not as connected as I feel like they should be with community resources and employment
Exactly.
agencies to kind of know what their options actually are. So when they complete their parole and then they need to find housing and they need to find a job, it's like you're kind of leaving them in a place where it's not really accessible
And you
or
folks
the
are doing
wait
your
times are
best,
so
but you're like,
long.
well, good luck. Like, I don't
Exactly.
know.
And then
Mhm.
people get surprised when they end up reoffending, but it's like what are they
What
supposed to
options?
do? You
Yeah,
know?
that
And I feel like it's just kind of an unfortunate and a difficult place to be in too, because like obviously I sympathize with them, but we support a system that doesn't. So it's kind of like
well
figuring
said.
out like we can't really do more than they allow us to do, right?
Exactly.
But I feel
It's
like I really enjoyed like learning about like your organization and kind of like the work that you do as well.
oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll definitely be mentioning it back to like people at my organization to kind of let them know to see if there's anything that they could like connect with you guys as
Cool.
well.
I'm like, we work with John Howard all the time,
Yeah.
so I look forward to seeing you again in something.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know that probably Marnie and Sophie have things that they need to do. I'm just going to leave you folks with one more thought around what it looks like to.
Sorry, Sheena, before you do your last thought here, I just wanted to highlight, you may have already answered it. There was a question in the
Oh,
Q&A.
sorry. Did I miss it?
So Brittany had asked, in terms of creating a brotherhood outside the jail, has Prosper considered a peer support component involving the graduate success stories from the program to assist new folks?
Excellent question. We did have a peer support program and it fell very flat. What we found was that the guys weren't interested in talking to other guys. And so it was, pardon me, it was like so fascinating because we really thought like this would make sense. This is like great. But it didn't work then. But actually this kind of feeds into my last thought around just because something didn't work before doesn't mean it won't work later. And the way our team is really serious about reframing everything, because like Aaliyah mentioned, there's times, and Michael mentioned the same, there are times when things come up that are just like so outlandish, and you think, shit, like what will ever happen to him? Like, how is he going to get out of this? And in our huddles, we do our best to, we have that little furrow brow moment, and then we turn around and we purposely say, everything is always working out for our greatest good. And then we can share that with our brothers. I didn't mention that the language that we use for our clients is brothers, because what we found is that it gives a really familial space for us as caseworkers and for our brothers to be able to land. And it humanizes, it is a humanizing factor. Um, so the peer support stuff hasn't worked yet, but I do think that there will be a space for that. And when it doesn't work with Prosper, what we try to do is find other peer mentors in other organizations like Direct Your Life, who I think is also speaking today. Or we do our best to connect our guys with mentors through like Urban Res or Fernie, so that they can hear from someone who has had an experience much like their own. And I do think that it ends up landing in this place of someone has to realize that they enjoy being inside for brotherhood before he can allow himself to have a peer mentor. It's sort of like this piece of acknowledgement that and I mean I don't ever want to like for you, don't you know why you like being in here? Like I can't do that. I'm just sort of like, okay, this is where you're at right now. But I don't remember who asked that question. Sorry, Sophie. I don't see it.
It was Brittany.
Brittany. Okay, Brittany, thank you for that question and thanks for helping that to resurface in my mind. I'm gonna bring that back to the team and we're gonna try it again.
Awesome. Well, this presentation was absolutely amazing. If everyone could please join me in thanking Sheena for her great presentation and sharing her knowledge with us today.
Thanks
Please
for
remember to
coming.
take a moment to fill out the survey for the session. You can click on the agenda in the platform, choose this session, and next to the join button, you'll find the survey button. We encourage you to connect with fellow participants and visit our poster and exhibit halls. Build your own agenda by adding sessions to your calendar. It's the add to calendar button. So again, we'd appreciate if you can complete the evaluation with by clicking the evaluation icon on the conference homepage menu bar. And thank you once again to Sheena and for everyone for your participation today. We'll be taking an hour's break for lunch from 12 to 1. We have a lunchtime session starting at 12:15 to 12:45 called What We Keep Missing About Addiction. Following lunch at 1 o'clock, please join us for the keynote panel Collaborating for Change, Disrupting Homelessness and Justice Involvement. To join the keynote session, click on Agenda in the menu link bar and join for the keynote presentation. Our B series concurrent sessions will follow in the afternoon at 3 p.m. So thank you, everyone, and thank you again, Sheena. This was fantastic.
Thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate everything that everyone's up to. Have a beautiful rest of your day.